More on the breaking news coming from the Wall Street Journal tonight. The Journal is reporting a letter bearing Trump's name given to Epstein in 2003 was part of a leather-bound book for Epstein's 50th birthday. According to the Journal, it contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. They don't use the word Sharpie. They describe it as a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs denotes the woman's breasts, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, the Journal says, mimicking pubic hair. The letter concludes, according to the Journal, quote, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret," end quote. Now, in an interview with the Wall Street Journal about this reporting, the Journal says Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture. He said, and I quote, "This is not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story. I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women. It's not my language. It's not my words." And he went on to tell the Journal that he was preparing to file a lawsuit if it went ahead and published the article, saying, "I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal just like I sued everyone else."
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about the mainstream liberal media overplaying their hand, okay? Because earlier today we talked about how even CNN is admitting that this Epstein stuff isn't really hurting Trump with his own base of supporters. You know, whether or not you really want to believe that, that's up to you, okay? But CNN's polls tend to underestimate Trump's support, okay? They really don't ever overestimate his support. So you don't have to believe it, but what I'm telling you guys is that the mainstream liberal media and the Democrats, they're overplaying their hand, right? That's my point. Because if they let this Epstein backlash just be isolated to MAGA, right, and just letting Trump supporters rage at Trump over the backlash that he 100% deserves because he made a promise to release the files, okay? And again, people want to play the semantics game and say he didn't campaign on it, okay. But regardless, nobody can deny that in the Lex Fridman interview and in the interview with Fox News that he basically said that he's going to release the files, okay? And I personally think he should not have leaned into that. He should not have said anything about it if he didn't know that he could deliver the goods, okay? Regardless, if the backlash was just from MAGA, who knows? This may have worked against the president. But because the mainstream liberal media and the Democrats decided to jump in it, I think people are starting to see what I told you guys a few days ago, that this has become a psyop, right? This has now become an operation to try to take down Trump by breaking up MAGA. And now the mainstream liberal media is so desperate that they're putting out hit pieces that just don't really seem to be believable at all in order to smear Trump as somebody that was associated with Jeffrey Epstein in a potentially inappropriate way. And it just reeks of desperation, because if they really had dirt on President Trump and Epstein, or President Trump doing something nefarious or committing some type of crimes, then I think it would have been released a long time ago. Because the left side of the aisle, these are the same people who tried to throw Trump in jail, and arguably they tried to assassinate him as well too. So I wouldn't put it past them to release potentially damaging information against Trump or criminal activity against Trump if he actually participated in criminal activity with Epstein. The fact that they haven't put anything out there in relation to that tells me that it probably doesn't exist, okay? And also on top of that, I don't think that President Trump would have openly said that he will release the Epstein files had he actually participated in any criminal activity. To me, that just doesn't make sense. It would just be a really stupid thing to promise to release incriminating evidence against yourself. Doesn't really make sense to me, okay? So with that being said, again, we're finding out why Trump is calling this a Democrat scam. And I think the reason why he's calling it that is because essentially he knows that now this is being used by Democrats against him, even though his hands are tied when it comes to what he could actually release about Epstein, okay, due to the fact that some of the documents are sealed. And also on top of that, Democrats know that there's just a group of people who are never going to accept the government's explanation of why they're not charging or arresting anybody when it comes to the Epstein stuff. So he understands how this plays into Democrats' hands, and I think that's actually what he means. And when the liberal media, when they put out bogus hit pieces like this, I think it kind of proves the president's point, because they're taking advantage of the fact that the president's not releasing anything. He's getting a lot of backlash, And everybody knows that President Trump was friends with Epstein at one point, right? And that is what the Wall Street Journal is trying to get at here, okay? Because they put out what allegedly is a letter that was sent by President Trump to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday. And President Trump is denying this, saying that it is fake. But let's go ahead and read a little bit about what's in here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I do want to go over it very quickly so that everybody kind of knows what we're talking about here. It was Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday, and Ghislaine Maxwell was preparing a special gift to mark the occasion. She turned to Epstein's family and friends. One of them was Donald Trump. Maxwell collected letters from Trump and dozens of Epstein's other associates for a 2003 birthday album, according to documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. Pages from the leather-bound album, assembled before Epstein was first arrested in 2006, are among the documents examined by Justice Department officials who investigated Epstein and Maxwell years ago. According to people who have reviewed the pages, it's unclear if any of the pages are a part of the Trump administration's recent review. The president's past relationship with Epstein is at a sensitive moment. The Justice Department's documents, the so-called Epstein files, and who or what is in them are at the center of a storm consuming the Trump administration. On Wednesday, after angry comments about how the files are a hoax created by Democrats, President Donald Trump lashed out his own supporters for refusing to let the matter go. The letter bearing Trump's name, which was received by the Journal, is body like others in the album. It contains several lines of typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman, which appears to be hand-drawn with a heavy marker. A pair of small arcs donates the woman's breast, and the future president's signature is a squiggly Donald below her waist, mimicking pubic hair. Basically, they're saying that Trump drew a naked woman, which proves what? Right? It doesn't prove anything, okay? Even if this is true, I don't know. Trump likes women, right? He's straight. Like, what is the point, right? Like, what point are you trying to prove? The letter concludes, "Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." In an interview with the Journal on Tuesday evening, Trump denied writing the letter or drawing the picture. Quote, "It's not me. This is a fake thing. It's a fake Wall Street Journal story." He said, "I never wrote a picture in my life. I don't draw pictures of women." He said, "It's not my language. It's not my words." He told the Journal he was prepared to file a lawsuit if it published an article. "I'm going to sue the Wall Street Journal just like I sued everyone else." So let's go down here, okay, to what apparently was written, okay. It is not clear how the letter with Trump's signature was prepared. Inside, the outline of the naked woman was a typewritten note styled as an imaginary conversation between Trump and Epstein, written in the third person. Voiceover: "There must be more to life than having everything," the note began. Donald: "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey: "Nor will I, since I also know what it is." Donald: "We have certain things in common." Jeffrey: "Yes, we do. Come to think of it." Donald: "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" Jeffrey: "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." Donald: "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Yeah, so I'm gonna tell you guys, this doesn't sound like Trump at all, right? Like, President Trump does not come off as the type of guy to write poems like this, right? I'm just saying, like, this just does not come off as the type of dude that Trump is. Now, unless Trump got somebody to write this for him, I just don't believe that he wrote this. Now, interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal could have posted the actual image to prove that was written by Trump, but they didn't do that, right? Basically, they're giving you secondhand information, and they're claiming that, "Trust us, bro," right? "We got this this letter, okay, this note that was written to Jeffrey Epstein from Trump." Now, I'm not gonna lie, I thought that when the Wall Street Journal was gonna release this, I thought it would be worse because I heard that this was gonna come out, and I thought it would be about something else. And this is certainly not, this is definitely not as damaging as I thought it would be. And what I thought it would be was not super damaging or anything like that, but it definitely would have been more damaging than this. Yeah, I mean, this is the Wall Street Journal playing on people's ignorance, right? This is the Wall Street Journal basically trying to put something out there to try to make it seem like, oh, well, you know, Trump must have committed some criminal activities. He must have been involved. and all of the activities that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. That's all this is. And again, even if it was true, even if he did write this, right? Let's say that Trump did write it. What does it prove? It doesn't prove anything, right? There's no admission of any crimes here. Okay. I mean, my conclusion from that is that, okay, well, they were friends, and everybody that was friends with Epstein was not committing crimes. Because if everybody that was friends with Epstein was committing crimes, then I would have to believe that the president was committing crimes. There's no evidence that the president was committing crimes. So I just can't come to the conclusion that he's guilty of anything. And this letter doesn't change my mind about that, right? So, yeah, with that being said, there are a lot of people that are calling BS on this letter, okay, that are saying that, hey, this is not really journalism. This is a smear campaign from the Wall Street Journal.
I get that he's pissed off, okay? And he's not wrong. This Wall Street Journal piece is a hack job, okay? And he says he's suing Rupert Murdoch, who he, was his buddy. They have, Fox kind of made Trump, and he's suing the Journal. He's suing everybody. He says he didn't write the birthday letter that they're ascribing to him, to Epstein for his 50th birthday. I mean, it's so stupid, okay? The Epstein story is about abusing kids who didn't have the power or agency to do anything about it, that rich and powerful people may have known it was going on and they got away with it. That's the story, okay? It's not that Trump liked a scumbag, okay? Now, I get that in the media this is great because it's bad for Trump and he's going crazy and he's going to pump and move the story for the Wall Street Journal right now by saying it's fake and it's wrong, but it doesn't move the needle in the country. It's going to make you some money, Rupert. Great for you, just what you need. But this is why we can't get anywhere. The guy says, I didn't write the letter. The letter is meaningless. You put out the piece anyway, and there's no light on what really matters.
Reporters are now, with this new revelation, going to be certain that Donald Trump was part of the deep state here, become highly suspicious of him, potentially turn on him. We are just within minutes already getting an indication that that is not the direction that this is going. Already, I can quote from Megyn Kelly on X right now, this is the dumbest attempted hit piece I've ever seen. Then Elon Musk, someone who's been at odds with much of this group lately, has said, yeah, the letter sounds bogus. People on the right now, they're consistently messaging, sort of matching their messaging in some cases already, saying this doesn't sound like him, this isn't how he writes, it doesn't sound like him. So we're already kind of seeing them all build whatever their story, their initial defense is going to be here. And it's always really telling when you see that roll out about how they're going to do the kind of mental gymnastics that in a way we've already seen them do this week. You played some of the sound at the top of this hour of the influencers trying to figure out how they explain why they so deeply care about this case, but they can still sort of attach themselves to this president and adore him, even as he angers them because he isn't giving them the thing that he promised them that he would give. And so I just caution people, if you think this is the thing that is now going to break this whole movement apart, I'm not sure that this is the direction that this is going in. They are probably going to he's going to find whatever his message is. I'm sure we're going to get more messages from the president and the White House tonight. I know Vaughn is making those phone calls in Texas. We speak right now. So they're figuring out what that is going to be. And I imagine, at least when it comes to, is Donald Trump connected to the criminal elements of this case here? Is he somehow a member of the deep state that we have been critiquing for a decade plus now? I don't know.
Yeah, when MSDNC is casting doubt on whether or not this is going to hurt Trump, then you kind of know that this is some BS, right? That this definitely did not achieve what they wanted it to achieve, okay? I mean, again, even if it was true, even if he did write the letter, which I doubt, right? It just doesn't sound like Trump. Like, he just doesn't come off that type of guy. Maybe he was that type of guy back then. I don't know, but he's certainly not that guy now. But even if he was that type of guy, he wrote the letter, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't move the needle. As Chris Cuomo said, this is why we can't get anywhere, right? Because of stuff like this. They're overplaying their hand, okay? And the thing is, my gut feeling, and I told you guys this a few days ago, I said, yeah, this is now going to become a psyop because Democrats and the liberal media are leaning into this, and that should tell you something. When they start to lean into this, it should tell you a lot, right? And so now what happens, which is what always happens when they overplay their hand, when they're leaning into it too much, when they get desperate, because let's be honest, if they had something on Trump, they were released a long time ago. When they start to get desperate and they do stuff like this, it tends to backfire. That's what happens. You already seen it backfire on Democrats, because Democrats are now being asked, hey, since now all of a sudden you care about Epstein so much, why didn't you do anything when you guys had power, right? Well, again, that is not necessarily a good look for Democrats, because it shows you that they're just boohoo-whining and crying as a way to try to smear Trump. And they really don't want to put themselves in a situation where they have to release something or to do something that they know they can't do. They know they're not going to do if they get into power. This is why Nancy Pelosi came out and told Democrats, hey, we need to move on from this, right? We need to stop playing into this, because it doesn't really help us politically, because for whatever reason, Democrats and Republicans, they don't want to really release anything when it comes to this. Again, you can make up your mind in regards to why. There's a number of reasons. Maybe it can be because they can't, due to the fact that there are a lot of information that's sealed by judges. Maybe because there's sensitive information about the victims or allegations that might not necessarily be true. Or maybe they're all in on the grand conspiracy involving Epstein. Who knows? Regardless, for Democrats, again, it's already backfiring, and you know this because Nancy Pelosi's telling them, hey, move on from this.
Is it your sense there's anything the president can do now to get his supporters to move off of the Epstein issue? Should he? Where do you land on this?
You know, again, this is a distraction. This is a distraction. We have major issues right here with things we're voting on today in the Congress. Again, in terms of the rescission that the president and the Senate have sent back over us to cut all of these resources out of helping poor people throughout the world, to be America play its leadership role in soft power to keep us safe and to keep us healthy, so that we viruses know no boundary. And instead, we're talking about him, about this thing, and at his own basis has its own views of what the president should do. I'll leave it up to them to talk it out. But again, whether it's Jeffrey Epstein or Alcatraz, it's all off the subject of what they're doing with this budget that is harmful to the kitchen table, meeting the kitchen table needs of the American people.
I want to make sure I understand what you mean when you say distraction. Do you think that Pam Bondi going to Alcatraz is meant potentially as a distraction from Epstein, which has not gone over well at all with the president's base?
No, I think they're both distractions. I think they're both. I don't think she's going to Alcatraz. I think she's planned to do that. But I think that they're both.
Yeah, so what you have here is Nancy Pelosi basically saying the writing on the wall, which is that it's not a good idea for Democrats to lean into this at all, because the more they lean into it, the more they're going to be making promises that they can't keep. And they probably shouldn't do that, because if they take back power, there will be no excuses for them not to release the files, okay? And that's not a position that they want to be in, because they know that there's a reason why the files aren't being released, and they're going to be subject to the same restrictions or whatever reasoning that the Trump administration is not releasing it. They're going to have to rely on the same thing, okay? And they know that. So, again, this is why Nancy Pelosi is telling them, hey, let's stop attacking the president over this. It's probably not a good idea. So, that being said, President Trump, again, he's now upset with the Wall Street Journal. Okay, this is what he had to say. He's planning on suing him. He says the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch personally were warned directly by President Donald J. Trump that the supposed letter they printed by President Trump to Epstein was a fake, and if they printed it, they will be sued. Mr. Murdoch stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. The editor of the Wall Street Journal, Emma Tucker, was told directly by Caroline Leavitt and by President Trump that the letter was fake, but Emma Tucker didn't want to hear that. Instead, they are going with a false, malicious, and defamatory story anyway. President Trump will be suing the Wall Street Journal, News Corp, and Mr. Murdoch shortly. The press has to learn to be truthful and not rely on sources that probably don't even exist. Yeah, again, I think it's fascinating that they didn't actually release a picture of the letter, right? I mean, if the Wall Street Journal actually wanted to legitimize this from the beginning, they should have just released the letter, right? The original letter, and let people judge for themselves. But again, even if the letter was real, it doesn't prove anything. So again, it's almost like pointless at this point, right? The point is to smear the president. The point is to play into this. They're overplaying their hand. That's what I'm telling you guys. It has truly turned out to be a disgusting and filthy rag, and writing defamatory lies like this shows their desperation to remain relevant. If there were any truth at all on the Epstein hoax as it pertains to President Trump, this information would have revealed by Comey, Brennan, Crooked Hillary, and other radical left lunatics years ago. It certainly would not have sat in a file waiting for Trump to have won 3 elections. This is yet another example of fake news. So you also have J.D. Vance, who has chimed in on this. He says, forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullshit. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where's his letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Donald Trump? Yeah, they got to publish the letter, bro. You got to publish the original letter before you put something out like that, right? I mean, when it comes to this type of stuff, you better come with all of the receipts, right? If you come with just accusations and no receipts, you're going to get mocked instantly, right? Everybody's is going to know that, okay, something ain't right here. James Fishback, he says, 6 questions for the idiots at the Wall Street Journal. Quote, how on earth did you just suddenly find a letter from 2003? Good question. Who gave it to you? When? What were the terms? Why didn't you publish the letter in full? President Trump's always been known for writing personal letters by hand. Can you cite a single example of him sending a typewritten note? Yeah, I mean, that's actually also a good point as well, too. He is also known for his straightforward and direct writing style, just like his speaking style. Can you cite one other example of him writing in whimsical riddles like this letter you suddenly found? Don't you find it odd that this letter magically appears now, not before 2016, 2020, or 2024, but right when Democrats are trying to weaponize Epstein against Trump? Canceling my Wall Street Journal subscription. Absolutely disgraceful article. Yeah, I agree with this. I 100% agree with this. In fact, I'm going to repost this because these are all legitimate questions. These are real questions in regards to why you should be skeptical, right? I mean, really, none of this really makes sense, to be honest with you. You also have President Trump coming out and also saying that he's going to order the immediate release of any and all Epstein grand jury testimony files. He says, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. Key. That's the key that people got to pay attention to. Subject to court approval, right? This scale perpetrated by the Democrats should end right now. Yeah. So we're going to see. Right, we're going to see exactly what they release. Now, I wouldn't get people's hopes up thinking that they're going to get a whole lot. But I think that President Trump at this point, he sees the writing on the wall and where this is leading to, right? It is leading to Democrats basically trying to implicate him because he can't release anything or that he's not releasing anything, okay? And I think that's the issue that he is dealing with, right? And I think that's why he's calling a Democrat Party scam. And what you're seeing here is the Democrats getting desperate and trying to basically put out anything except actual real hard evidence that President Trump was involved in any crimes in order to smear him. And that's what this is at this point. It's become a smear campaign, and smear campaigns like this tend to backfire. They would have been better off just staying out of it and just letting MAGA backlash against Trump without getting involved at all, right? They just would have been better off doing that, but they had to get involved. They had to jump in on it. And I just don't think that this is going to end up the way that they thought, right? Because they're going to basically hurt themselves because they just could not help themselves. They couldn't help themselves, okay? They had to get in on it. And I just don't think that that's going to help them in this situation. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.